Welcome back to Sous Vide Everything, guys. Philly Cheesesteak. It is absolutely incredible sandwich. It has been around for so many years for a reason. But can sous vide make it even better? There's only one way to find out. Check it out.
Here I have two beautiful steaks. This one right here I'm going to be cooking at the traditional version, which is to partially freeze it so that I can slice it nice and thin. The other one, however, I'm going to be cooking at sous vide to make the perfect medium rare Philly cheesesteak. And after putting it on my freezer for 30 minutes, this is what it looks like. As you can see, it's partially frozen, and it should make a nice perfect Philly cheesesteak sandwich. But there are a few things that we gotta keep in mind. You see right here, this is the silver skin, and also some connective tissues. Those gotta go. So the first thing to do is to start slicing it nice and thin. As you can see here, since it's partially frozen, it makes the job a lot easier. If this steak was at room temperature, trust me, this would not be achieved so easy. Now you can go to town until you get to the silver skin. And once that happens, you gotta make sure you remove all of it out. I was able to take it out just like this. That, like I previously mentioned, has to go. There's no way that you can render this down, it's just basically shoe leather. The goal of cutting this meat is to get it nice and thin, but at the same time, we are not looking for ground beef. We want nice little pieces of steak because it's called Philly cheesesteak and not Philly ground beef. So after chopping it up even more, this is what I was left with. That is exactly what I'm looking for. Perfect little pieces of steak, but it's not ground beef. And if there's one thing that goes nicely with a Philly cheesesteak is some caramelized onions. I highly recommend using a cast iron for this. And the first thing I like to do is put a good amount of oil. I'm using grapeseed oil. It's pretty straightforward. You just gotta stir fry them on under a medium-high heat. If you keep them moving all the time, they will not caramelize. Just let them get a little bit of color first, then you start moving them. From my experience, this speeds up the process quite a bit. Once they reach this kind of color, the next thing to do is to season them. And for that, I kept it pretty simple, only with salt and freshly ground black pepper. And of course, the next thing to do is to mix it well to make sure every single one of them is nicely seasoned. Now the only thing left to do is to let them cook until you are 100% happy with the color and your caramelized onions are done. That right there is a nice sweet taste to your Philly cheesesteak. And if for whatever reason you don't like caramelized onions, just don't put them. But let me tell you something, I love them. Now the next thing to do is to cook up our beef. Using the same exact pan, I threw in a little bit more of oil, followed by that beautiful ribeye we just chopped up. Now one of the most important things to keep in mind when cooking this Philly cheesesteak is that you want that pan nice and hot. For the first 2 minutes, try to avoid mixing it up too much. Because as you know, if you do, that will not build that crust. So go ahead and start the seasoning. And for that, I threw in a little bit of salt, followed by freshly ground black pepper and onion powder, nothing else. As you can see, because I was not moving my meat right away, it developed a nice crust. That, my friends, is flavor and something you definitely want. As you can see, as I move it around, the moisture of the actual meat starts deglazing the pan itself. There's no need to use any liquid for deglazing. Now the only thing left to do is to make sure every single one of them is nicely cooked, because by that time your meat is done. Now you tell me if that's not perfectly cooked meat for Philly cheesesteak. These little crusty beets are absolutely phenomenal. Now let's talk about the bread. For today I'm going to be using this Italian bread. You can actually find them in any supermarket. But as always, you can always make it at home. And if you do want the recipe, just let me know in the description down below. One thing that we cannot miss with a Philly cheesesteak is the actual cheese. And the original is always Cheese Whiz. And if you've never tried this, it's basically a salty cheese that is very melty and absolutely delicious. All you gotta do is get a saucepan under medium heat and throw it in there. Let this thing melt nice and slow. Keep stirring it to ensure that it does not burn, because once it's nice and hot, it should look just like this. That, my friends, is Cheese Whiz. And everyone that serves Philly cheesesteak in Philadelphia has it. But now all there's left to do is to assemble our Philly cheesesteak. So of course, we start off with the steak, followed by a little bit of that caramelized onions, and finish it off with the Cheese Whiz. Maybe a little bit of extra cheese, because as we know, cheese never hurts anybody. No green peppers, nothing else. And if this does not put a smile on your face, I don't know what will. Because take a look at this. Come on, that is perfection. But now the big question is, can you get even better than this? What if we make it a perfect medium rare Philly cheesesteak? Is that going to be better? Well, let's find out. For that, I'm going to be using the second steak right here. As you can see, it is a beautiful choice grade ribeye. And we're talking about 1.5 inches thick. To season it, I kept it exactly the same as I did with the previous one. A little bit of salt, freshly ground black pepper and garlic powder, nothing else. To ensure that I'm going to be cooking this steak to perfection, I'm going to be using sous vide. And for that, I just throw it in the bag, vacuum seal it, and it's ready for the water bath. Talking about that, I'll be cooking it at 135 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours. That will give me the perfect medium rare that I'm looking for.
I have no idea if the sous vide Philly cheesesteak is actually going to be better than the traditional one. As you guys know, I cooked that at 135 degrees Fahrenheit for a total of 2 hours. That will give me a nice, perfect medium rare in the middle. With all that being said, the steak is ready and it's time to take it out. Let's do it. I got my beautiful ribeye right here, everybody. If you could only smell how wonderful this thing smells. You know, after many years of doing sous vide, it always hits me because I know when a steak is gonna be something special. And I can tell you that about this one right here because it's also extremely tender and it smells fantastic. But I'm not sure if it's gonna beat the traditional Philly cheesesteak. And there's only one way to find out. So I know my steak doesn't look good right now, but watch this. All right, everybody, here we have our beautiful Philly cheesesteak, Mama. You like Philly cheesesteak?
I love Philly cheesesteak, but it has my nemesis on it.
I know, Mama is lactose intolerant, everybody. And just so you know, I put a little bit of extra cheese for you, yeah?
Yeah, I see that.
Come on.
Like it's pooling all over the place over here.
Cheese whiz, everybody. When you go to Philadelphia, they give you several different types of options. But the original is cheese whiz. All right, so as you can see, we have two different ones over here.
Did you forget one of them on the grill or something for a little bit longer?
Yes, one of them is a little bit more overcooked than the other, yeah?
Okay.
So we got that one, it's kind of like
this one looks beautiful.
I know, medium rare, perfect pinkness. That's I think you can already tell what this video is about.
I'm guessing it has to do with the doneness?
Exactly. So I want to know if it's worth making a Philly cheesesteak medium rare, or if it's just, you know, badness.
Okay.
You ready for it, Mama? We'll try the traditional first. You ready? Now I went a little bit overboard here and put extra meat in there. That's some thick boy right there. Look at that.
I love it. That's the way it's supposed to be.
I don't even know if mine will be able to close. Look at this. There's no way that it's just not gonna fall. It's gonna fall, everybody, no matter what. Cheers, everybody.
Wow.
I love Philadelphia and their cheesesteak because it's amazing. What happened, Mama?
You have some onions hidden.
Yes!
I'm surprised.
Caramelized onions. Come on, everybody. It's a Philly cheesesteak. You know what a Philly cheesesteak tastes like. It tastes like heaven. That's how you describe it. Even the sweetness of the caramelized onion just hits you right there.
I'm actually quite surprised at Google. It's been a while since I had a good Philly cheesesteak. This is a good Philly cheesesteak.
One thing you got to remember is do not over season the meat, because if you over season, because the cheese whiz is a little bit salty,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Has some salt in it.
Then you're gonna have it too salty. Just remember, if you're gonna put a good amount of cheese whiz for your lactose intolerant cousin, do not over season it, everybody.
Thanks for watching out for me, by the way.
I'll tell you one thing. This is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm not even gonna say if you never had Philly cheesesteak. Everybody had a Philly cheesesteak once, huh?
Maybe they haven't. Like, you know,
Yeah,
Brazil, we never had this before.
This does not exist in Brazil. There's no such thing as a Philly cheesesteak. And if you live in a country that you never experienced anything like this, do it.
Do it.
I absolutely love it. You, Mama?
Perfect.
Okay, take it easy. Mama's already halfway.
I'm already.
All right, let's go to the second one to see if it's worth it, yeah? And look at that. It's all fun. It's a mess, everybody. That's the way it's supposed to be. When you go to Philadelphia, the good places give it to you a little extra. Maybe that's why they're better.
They say the messier, the better.
Exactly. Cheers, everybody. So different.
Wow.
Oh my God. It's like night and day, even though it's the same steak. Before I say my opinion, Mama, what do you think?
Let me ask you, like, is it the same?
Same exact steak.
You just really seared the other one more than this one?
The other one was actually just cooked on the pan. It was never done sous vide. This one I cooked at sous vide. And then obviously just chopped it up nice and small.
Okay, because it's like two completely different sandwiches.
It is. I agree with you. It feels like this is a steak sandwich. This one is like a sandwich made out of steak. And this one is like a steak sandwich. I don't know if that's a good description.
This is like the steak sandwich. This is the sandwich with steak.
Yes. It's difficult to describe.
It's difficult to describe, but for the first time, I think I'm gonna prefer the no sous vide.
Oh, no way. Really, Mama?
I prefer the flavor of the steak sandwich rather than the steak sandwich.
There you go, everybody. You can never go wrong with the traditional Philly cheesesteak.
I'm coming back to this one.
Oh, Mama really like it, everybody. He really liked the traditional one. Anyway, guys, these are the results. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe for future videos. Remember, if you are interested in any of the equipment I use, everything is always in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. You finish that one first. I'm going to finish this one first.
Oh, look at it.
This is good. See you guys on the next one, everybody.
Better.
Take care.